Hey, how's it going, everybody? KG here. Today, we want to look at mini LED versus QD OLED. And I wanted to do this because the last time I brought you a OLED versus mini LED TV, I received a lot of criticism and negative comments towards me not liking the Bravia 9 in game mode. And I was actually accused of being someone who hates Sony, and I hate the Bravia 9, and I hate Sony mini LED TVs. I'm a big LG fanboy, all this stuff. So I just want to be really clear. It's not the Bravia 9's fault that it didn't do as good with game mode in mind compared to an OLED TV. It's the fact that it is a mini LED TV at the end of the day. And a mini LED TV, image quality wise, is not going to be equal to an OLED TV when it comes down to image fidelity. You just have to be honest with yourself with that. And I want to show you some examples of this. And I'm using a mini LED TV here on the right. It's a 65-inch QN900D, and on the left is a 55-inch S95D. I apologize if it looks a little bit distorted. That's just the way that the lens was. But I also want to say, like, the size of the QD OLED does not matter here. If it was a 65-inch, it'd be the same exact results. So when you're looking at these things, I want you to pay attention to a few things. So the light sources on this game here, Star Wars, look at everywhere you see light coming from. Okay, the lightsaber, the LED signs, all these things, right? And I want you to look closely at the QN900D. Now, this is in HDR. Make sure you're watching in HDR. And look at how hazy it looks on the QN900D. Look at how almost fog-like, it looks around the light. And it just doesn't look clear. Now look at the S95D. You have a more precise lighting. So you have less of that foggy look to it. It definitely looks like it's clearer. The best way I can put this is like if you have glasses that are just a little bit dirty and you're looking at something that looks a little bit smudgy, that's how it looks on the QN900D at times when it comes down to those lights. Now you clean your glasses and everything looks clear. That's how it looks on the S95D. And that's because the S95D is using OLED technology, and OLED technology is self-emissive. That means that every individual pixel is self-lit, and this is not going to result in any lag of the backlight whatsoever. Where the mini LED TVs, they don't have precise backlighting. They do have to make sure they rely on the amount of dimming zones that it has, and the dimming zones do not react instantly like an OLED TV does when it comes down to being self-emissive. So that's the biggest difference here. And that is why you have this foggy look, this hazy look. Especially when you're moving your controller left and right, you will see this. And you will also notice that in the distance, lights just are not going to be lit up as much as they would with an OLED TV. And oftentimes, I have seen examples in mini LED TVs where I won't even see the light source if it's too far away. Yeah, it does depend on the TV that you're looking at, and I think the QN900D does a really good job most of the time compared to other mini LED TVs, and I will show you more examples of this. So yeah, take a look at this next example with Ori in mind. This is a game that oftentimes I see mini LED TVs struggle, but the QN900D is actually doing really well here. And I have to say, I was kind of surprised by that. Now, the Bravia 9 also did pretty good with Ori in mind as well. So, higher end mini LED TVs, they don't struggle as much as they used to with games like Ori, for example. But the lower end mini LED TVs will kind of be more blooming. You'll see that with a game like this. So, I do want to give the QN900D props where it is deserved. It is doing way better than a lot of mini LED TVs would do with this game in mind. Now let's move on to Elden Ring here, and I do want to show you guys a couple of examples here. With the tree that is going to be right here, you can see that it looks more precise, where on the QN900D, once again, it is kind of blurry, and it does give you that sense of just not being as impactful than it is on the S95D. So yeah, that's another example of this. Going into a darker area on the QN900D surprised me. I thought that this would do a lot worse than it did. It actually did a really good job again for a mini LED TV. Looking at it compared to the S95D, it still is a mismatch. It's just not going to compare. And I'm not saying that it should compare. I'm just pointing it out. to you guys so you can know that, if you're looking for a TV for gaming, I think that OLED is definitely the way to go when we're talking about crossing a certain price threshold. Once you can afford OLED, I think that's where gamers should be looking. Going to this next example here, we see that there's this area with a lot of stars in the sky. Once again, I think the QN900D is doing pretty good for what it is, but again, we see the S95D being superior in this kind of location. Here we are in Sea of Thieves, and I think Sea of Thieves is a really good showcase for gaming in terms of TV technology, because not only does it showcase the OLED's technology, but it shows how good the mini LED is as well at what it's doing for a mini LED TV. And I think in the context of mini LED versus mini LED, the QN900D and the Bravia 9 are definitely the cream of the crop when it comes down to game modes. But again, one of the reasons why I struggle to mention mini LED TVs as gaming TVs in that higher end bracket is because of the backlight. It's just not going to be able to give you what you want for gaming in terms of image quality. So I'm moving my camera just a little bit here and there in Sea of Thieves, and you can see there's trouble here, right? Not only is the backlight failing to keep up sometimes, and it's just kind of losing focus, but you're also seeing that sometimes in the distance we're losing light. We're not seeing the light right away. But I will say once again, for a mini LED TV, the QN900D is doing better than most in this area. Oftentimes with mini LED TVs, you can have a darker area look really hazy, look really bad, and almost like kind of washed out. The stars in the sky really do give mini LEDs trouble, but I want to say that QN900D does pretty decent here, right? Another thing is going to be uniformity. If there's any uniformity issues with the mini LED TV, it's going to be brought out in gaming. And that is why you see it here with the QN900D at times. The dirty screen effect, unfortunately, is a very real problem with LCD TVs. I've had it on my Bravia 9 and I had it on my QN900D. Although my Bravia 9 wasn't as bad as the QN900D's DSE, it is still something I noticed, and the tolerance level will really depend on the kind of person you are. These are things that I do want to bring to your guys' attention when we're talking about buying TVs for gaming. It's really important that if you're going to spend a lot of money on a TV and you're going to game with it, you need to know these things and it needs to be clear. Mini LED TVs currently right now, I cannot recommend them for gaming in this price bracket. Can you get away with gaming on them? Sure, you can. There's no doubt about it. But for me, I feel like I would be doing you guys a disservice by recommending you a mini LED TV over an OLED TV for gaming. And in the case of higher end mini LED TVs versus S95D versus G4, I do think that they're not matches. I think that the Bravia 9 shouldn't be bought over a G4 or S95D for anything. And I think that the same thing can be said about the QN900D. I think that the G4 and the S95D and the A95L should be looked at before you look at those TVs. In the premium market, I think that OLED is controlling it. And I think that there's no reason to go with any other type of TV when you're in this kind of category. Do you agree with me? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you want to keep watching comparison videos just like this, check out this one right here. I think you'll like it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next one.